Composing Gloves here, and today we're going to do a free VST review plugin demo thing. Honestly, this is TDR Nova. It's a free dynamic EQ. So this thing blew my mind that this is even free. Like pretty crazy to me that this is a free thing. So if you're in need of an EQ, this is like the answer. If you're now CPU wise, this may not be the most friendly in particular scenarios, but as far as what it could do, totally worth it. So what is this? Well, it is a compressor, and it's also, well, it's called the dynamic equalizer. So it's an EQ like you would typically expect. And you'll notice that it could go from 10 hertz to 40K, and we can only hear from 20 to 20K. So that's already like super mega nice that it can do that. But to put a little bit of icing on the cake, we have dynamic processing capabilities as well. So we can compress parts of our spectrum, something that a multi-band compressor would be. This is much more intuitive. Now, if you don't know what compression is, I have a video on what compression is. You should go watch that, get an idea of what compression is and what it can do for you. Multi-band compressor sort of acts like a dynamic EQ. It's a little bit different. And a regular compressor acts like this. It's sort of like an EQ because parts of your spectrum at times will move past your threshold and all these extra things will happen. But in this case, you can specifically target parts of your spectrum. There is an expander in the paid version. So you could actually make things louder once they pass your threshold. But I'm not using that version because I have other compressors and stuff. So I went with the free one. Maybe one day I'll buy the other one. So I guess I'll take you to the website real quick. So this is the website. It's Tokyo Dawn Records. This is it. It comes with the user manual. It's extraordinarily professional. I was super shocked at just like how well this was, or just how nice it was. So you can download it, just read it up. It's got a super great manual, which is something that I was like, what? This is an amazing manual for a free thing. So that's kind of a rarity, probably because there's a paid version. And then they have a variety of analyzers, which is nice. So we can analyze the input, output, the sidechain. So you can sidechain to this. That's something I spent a while trying to do in FL, and it just won't working for me. If any of you guys figure out how to configure it, it's easier to do in Pro Tools or Ableton. But I'm an FL guy for the most part. So you can analyze the sidechain input and trigger compression with the sidechain, which is a super powerful tool. Then we have, of course, just no analyzer. We're gonna be analyzing the output. You have this help icon right here, and as you move around over things, they'll tell you what they do, and that is another crazy, like, super nice feature for learning. And then you have settings. You can actually change how fast your slider knob movements are, and just all these other things that I'm just like, what? So, anyways. So here is our kick. I just have two kicks, and it's just an EQ, pretty much what you would expect. It's got a 48 dynamic range, and then they have a couple of interesting filter options here. If we could go into our high pass here, and so we have 4 filters. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4. And you can click on them to select them. You can drag to select multiple of them. By the way, on this website, there is a video. This guy he reminds me of the Fab Filter guy. But he does an amazing tutorial on how to use this kind of stuff. So if you're looking for some ideas of what to use, that's another great resource that they provide. So amongst these, you can select multiple by dragging. If you drag one past another one, it kind of doesn't make sense that this is name 3 and this is name 2. Well, you can keep this right where it's at, the change you want, because maybe you were in the middle of your great creative process and you cannot move that band back. Like, it's something you're just never going to get it back. So what you can do is you can put order by filter, and bang, it will change the names for you, which is kind of nice. So they thought of a lot of things here for a free thing. Again, I'm totally shocked. You can turn them on and off. If you select multiple of them and change things, they will both change together. Something to keep in mind when you're doing things. Because if you do your frequency, you'll lose both. So, something you should be aware of. Okay, we can bypass it. And amongst other things, so we have this high pass and this low pass, and they come in and out. I'm covering this as if you know what an EQ does and is. I have videos on EQ if you want to know, like parametric EQ 2 on my YouTube channel for FL. But it's like a general EQ, like you'll learn basic stuff. So we have our high pass or low pass, turn them on and off. You can select the frequency, and you have these ridiculous slopes. In the paid version, you have any more, but you have 6 dB per octave, all the way up to 72, like this stupidly sharp thing. Now, when you use a filter of this sharpness, you'll experience a phase shift. You'll almost for sure experience some sort of a phase shift. So you just need to be aware of that if you use those. But anyways, another thing is they have this thing, they call it the W band. It's the wideband. This is your band over the whole thing. So if you want to compress the entire mix, you would use the wideband. If you want to prevent certain parts from getting compressed, you can use the individual bands. So right now we have 4 bands. I'm not going to go through the differences between the paid version and this version because he does that pretty well in his video, and I don't want to tell you about features that you don't have access to anyways. So each band can be made into a bell, a high shelf, or a low shelf, whatever your heart's desire. You could scroll with your mouse wheel to change the Q instead of changing the Q down here, but you can if you want. The gain, the slope is controlled with the Q, so I guess that's kind of a mute point. Here we could change the frequency via this. Now you notice when you pass it, that's when this becomes active. And we have gain, so we can change the gain via our gain knob. Now, if we turn on our threshold, our compressor becomes active. So if we were to turn this on, one other important thing before we move over there. You have this EQ gain, like this auto EQ thing. And what it does is when you're EQing, some of you, newer ones, and me especially, are in the horrible habit of doing this when you want something to be emphasized. Instead of, let's say this is what you want, you could do this and bring everything else down except for that one spot. And you could accomplish just about the same effect. You can make this into a low shelf, do something like that, and you could get near what you want. But of course, sometimes, we don't want to cut, we want to boost instead of cutting out things. And so what you can do, and it's totally possible, is you can leave the EQ gain on. And what the EQ gain does is instead of you hearing the boost, so let's turn it on. So without it on, this is what an EQ would generally do. This is a mega nice feature. So here it is. If we want to boost this, we get that. But then we get this big boost right here. If you turn on EQ gain, instead of turning this up, it'll turn everything else down, which is a much better thing. Now, there's a bad side to this. This is you will not break your habit of boosting things, which could be a bad thing if you're going into other EQs. But it is a super mega nice feature that allows you to not get fooled by something sounding louder, because we hear things louder and we assume it sounds better. Well, this is like a weapon against that. Like you can use this and it will keep you from doing that. So anyways, I wanted to show you that. Now you have your dry mix, so how much your dry mix gets through. I leave it at 0 because I want all my affected signal to come out. And then you have your output gain. So you're going to want to use this for makeup gain when you're compressing. So when we turn on our threshold, well, this is why. So we have these bands right here, but this gain adjusts the whole band, but it does not affect these points where we've set them in the Q values that are associated with them. So it changes. So if we were to not click anywhere, so you just don't select a band, then you'll get your wideband settings. And if you turn that up, you'll see that our band threshold changes, but wherever we've set a band is going to be unaffected. Now this is a parallel compressor deal. So it does it as so each one of these bands is processed in parallel and then sent out through a bus and summed together, and all this magic happens. So you're going to want to keep that in mind. It's covered in depth in the manual, but so each one of these bands is processed individually, including the wideband. So the way they do this is through an ingenious system that they have, devised. So we can turn on a threshold. We can essentially use the wideband as a master compressor. We can play our sound and take the threshold down, and you see that it triggers the compressor. It's just crazy watching the line move. When I saw this and I was like, this is free, I was like freaking out. So we could change the threshold, make it really severe threshold. We can change the attack setting to be really fast, or we can make it not so fast. A really visual way to learn about compression. I might use this in future tutorials. So one day I'll have a compression series. You can change the release time, and you get a really visual way of seeing this compressor do its job, and it's totally free. So that's the ratio. So this is essentially a limiter. We can have it though. So you could go to different bands and you can actually set up, you can turn threshold on, and you see it's in split. Split means that it's got its own band of compression. As we move it, we can change its ratio individually. And you see it is not affected now by what this is doing. So that's how you would isolate something if you don't want it to be compressed, but you want other parts to be compressed. He shows about sticky mode later on. I'm not going to show you sticky mode. But anyways, you click on it, it'll take you to that band and its settings. Turn threshold on, you can do that. You can change the threshold, the ratio, attack, release individually. So you can, you know, keep your kick from being compressed and compress the rest so you can preserve maybe what you deem. So it's weird now because now you can compress things and still technically preserve transients. But this part has transient information too. So like this is where the click is generally associated. So you can do something like this and just all manner of madness. If you want to hear the signal that you're only affecting, you can hit this GR delta, which is gain reduction. Basically you're soloing whatever you're changing. So we turn that on. This is our affected signal. So we can, that's a super mega nice feature. Okay. That's just cool. I've never seen that before. So turn that back off. We can bypass it. So there's our bypass. Unbypass it. That's our signal out that we're looking at. Signal in. So that's what it looks like when it comes in. We don't have a side chain, but it's perceived as a side chain. Again, I just gave up trying to figure out the side chain for now. So I like looking at the out. This is the side chain if it's an internal source or an external source. This is far easier with things that have things labeled side chain input, like much easier with their DAWs. So we have stereo. So this is like what comes in. Now you might be tempted to think, oh, stereo, mono, that means that it's going to run down my mix. And if you use these two, this is true. But if you use sum or difference, this is mid-side. I have a video on that, like what is mid-side and how do I set it up. But if you're familiar with that and you know about it, first of all, it's a powerful mixing tool. This will not bring it down. So the sum is, it'll mono your mix, but it will still output the full mix. Just what you're doing in here will only be to your mono mix. And difference obviously would be, the opposite, whatever's your stereo information. And if you just open them up in parallel, one for sum, one for difference, you can affect both individually. Then you can also just do your left channel and your right channel of audio. Did I point the right way? This is my left, so whatever. And so that's that. I left it on stereo. Then they have this precise and eco mode. So let's say you are in a situation where eco is just not the way. Precise isn't the way for you. Your CPU is dying. You can change it to eco, and you can do that. Now you can change it back to precise at the end if you so desire it. Now I will, and you can actually see a change. If we do precise, change eco, the graph, you can see things get a little less extreme here. Now that may or may not be something that you're interested in. And if you do make changes with eco on, that might be the sound you want because you changed it to be ideally what you want. So changing it to precise may not do something you like. Okay, so we've talked about this. We talked about the ridiculous 72 dB per octave abilities. I believe we've covered pretty much everything I want to cover. The EQ gain, that's just like, man, I can't, this is free. Can you believe this is free? I can't believe this is free. I'm still mind blown about this. You have these undo knobs up here and you can undo settings that you did. And you have this A, B, so you can copy to A or B, but you can flip between two states and compare them. So if that's something you want to do, I did not check to see if this has a MIDI link up to it, but it does have a MIDI button for it. So you could totally go and automate this. I'm pretty sure it does. But so you could automate between two. That'd be kind of cool instead of opening up two and fading them in and out using these guys down here. All right. Let's see. That's pretty much it. That's all I have to say. I know I didn't have the most exciting audio example. He's got lots of exciting audio examples, but I hope that I was able to explain things in a way that made sense to you. And the fact that this is free, I still can't believe it's free. Holy crap, that's free. That's pretty impressive for a free thing. I would use this. I'm going to use this. What a great tool, especially for dynamic processing. Even though it doesn't expand, I could just use, I could open up Maximus and target that one area I want, bring it back up. Or I could just buy, the nicer version of this software. So if you have any questions, let me know. Subscribe. And have a blessed day.
Opposing gloves. Reversing.